Am I too close to the camera? I feel like I'm too close. This is better. Today's video is about my experience as a college athlete, a whole whopping 1 semester. And the reason I didn't last is because my coach was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, just like my mom. I know that this seems like a pattern, but I really just have had bad luck. I've ran into a bunch of crazies, so much so that I've become it. I'm not really all the way there anymore either, but I'm not working in public. So why people that are inherently selfish choose to be coaches and teachers and parents, I don't know, but that's what I've been surrounded by, okay? I live in Ohio. My coach would literally call my phone at random hours, even when I'm in class, and then threaten to take away my scholarship because I'm not performing for him. And this started happening before our first race even started. I had yet to even put up a time in a race as part of his team. I had never even competed, and he was already calling me saying, well, I just don't know how I feel about the way you're performing. I thought you'd just be doing way better right now. But that's not the worst of it, because the girls that I was running with didn't like me. No matter how hard I tried to fit in, it just wouldn't work. And I'm gonna start at the beginning. Because one of these girls, the one that ends up being my only friend, takes my boyfriend, okay? Steals him right out from under me. I didn't even see it coming. Somehow I had made it all the way to 18 years of age without having a girl do something like that to me. Because I never really had any girl best friends, all right? This was my first experience. In fact, I haven't had a girl best friend since. My best friend right now has a panini, all right? Who would have thought that? And it wasn't just the girls team that was giving me flack. It was the guys too. I had a guy literally call me a terrible word when I had never even said a word to him before. The only acknowledgement we'd even had of each other is he followed me on my Instagram and I followed him back. And that was months ago after I signed on to run at that college. I'm talking about Shawnee State University, by the way. And the coach that I'm talking to is no longer the head coach there, so don't harass the coaches there now, okay? This guy no longer works there. And we'll call him Derek, okay? And his real name is in there, but it's not Derek. Somebody down below that figures it out, comment the name. But like I said, he no longer works at Shawnee. So don't bother the people there. I don't know anybody there. Okay, they didn't do nothing. To start this story, we have to go all the way back to October of 2015. That's when I was having my senior cross country season, which was terrible. Okay, I did not run that well. I didn't train for my senior season at all because I wasn't even gonna run. I tried to quit. My parents forced me to run and basically said, if you don't compete, we're gonna make this last year of your senior year a living hell. We're gonna take away everything out of your room except your bed, basically, and your clothes. And I wasn't gonna have fuck all. Funnily enough, my mom ended up going to jail, so who's laughing now? But I did end up running. I just didn't run good. I started training way later than everyone else, so my times weren't the best, but they were good enough that a college still took notice of me. Just because of how great I ran my first 3 years in high school, they thought, people can have a bad senior year, you know. For girls, your body changes a lot around that time, so maybe I just have to get used to my new body. Realistically, I just didn't care because my mom literally got arrested, okay? All right, she assaulted my father in front of me, got arrested. I had big boy shit going on, or big girl shit, because I was a little girl then. I had big girl shit at the time, okay? I didn't care about sports, all right? I didn't care about little sports for little kids. I was dealing with my mom getting arrested, and my whole family falling apart. In the midst of all of that, though, Derek reached out to me, all right? Derek, right? Because we're calling him Derek. Derek reaches out to me. He said that he really would love for me to go run for them. He actually invited me there to run with them for a day and meet the team. That went so great that I signed. One of the girls that was on the team then, she was a distance runner from another school, and I ran with her a lot before. So I'm like, oh, cool. This would be a great fit for me because I already know one girl on the team. That will make integrating into the team a lot more comfortable. And it wasn't that I was shy. It's just I didn't know how to start a conversation or like initiate one. I just wasn't good at that because most of the things I'm interested in, nobody else is at our big old age. They want to talk about boys and alcohol and parties and all that stuff. I don't want to talk about that. I don't know. I just couldn't relate to him, you know? What am I just going to sit down and be like, so any of your parents get arrested lately? Because mine did. So I thought, cool, having this girl being there is going to make me running there a lot better. So I'm like, heck yeah, the coach seems pretty cool. I know one of the girls. I felt pretty comfortable that day when I ran with them. Everybody was nice. The campus was small, which would be well suited for me since I hate a lot of crowds and a lot of people. So I signed. And now I was officially pledged to run for Shawnee State for my first year of college. Yay me. I only did it because my dad wanted me to. Fast forward to post-graduation, I trained all summer. It was not fun. Running 6 to 8 miles every single day all summer. Not fun. I hated it. Catch me driving everywhere. Unfortunately for me, Derek decided that it would be better for all of us runners to come to college and end our summers a week before everybody else. So we all had to go to the college campus a week early before classes even start to get to know each other and meet each other. But we couldn't just do that in the comfort of our own dorms. No, coach has to make it awkward. We literally show up, say hi, say our names, and all of us are piled into these cheap rental vans and driven 4 hours into the middle of nowhere, Kentucky to camp in the woods for 2 nights. How does that sound to camp in the forest for 2 nights? With like 30 people that you don't even know and a coach that you just kind of know. Don't wish that on anybody. So that particular year in 2016, when I entered Shawnee State's running program, it was me and 4 other freshman girls. I don't know what it was, but these 4 seemed to hit it off right off the start. I got there like a half hour after everybody because I was spending as much time with my dad on move-in day as I could, and then he went home, and I guess everybody had already been over there in the sports room like hanging out while I was still moving in. Whatever, not a big deal. We're all new here. This is all of our first years. Like, I'll be able to relate to them and become their friends. It just might take a little bit. I think I was the only freshman girl in the van that I was in because we had like 4 or 5 of them. That's just how that went. I spent the entire 4 hours kind of listening to music, and I guess maybe that's kind of weird to do. Like, if you just meet all these people and you're in a car ride, I guess don't put your headphones in and not really talk to anybody because then that makes you look weird. It was really awkward for me, like being between 2 dudes I didn't know. Actually, now that I remember, I'm pretty sure there were only dudes in the van I was in. I can't remember a single girl being in the van I was in on the way there. So I just put my earbuds in and I just listen to music because all of these guys are strangers to me. I don't really have anything in common with them. We just all met. It's early. I'm just gonna listen to music and vibe for the first part of this ride. And I just noticed a few of the boys like looking back at me and then looking at each other and smiling and whispering. And it's like, what's the big deal that I'm listening to music right now? If you want to have a conversation with me, then tap on me and say hi. I don't know. We get to the campgrounds and I immediately go look for the freshman girls because I'm thinking the other girls have already been running together. They already know each other. My best bet is to find these freshmen who are also new and talk to them and become their friends. So I find them all sitting on a picnic table. I go over to that picnic table and I sit down and I say hi or whatever the hell I say, and everybody immediately gets quiet. Okay, that's kind of weird. That made me feel really uncomfortable, so I'm thinking, well, maybe they're just as awkward as me. So I'm like, how are you guys? How was your rides? And most of the girls are quiet until one of them just kind of goes, oh yeah, it was all right. So I go, oh cool, you know, mine was all right too. And then there's more silence, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe these girls really aren't just as awkward as me because they don't know how to start conversation either. I then say, how do you guys feel about camping? That's when one of the girls says, hey, do you want to come with me to go figure out where the showers are for later? The other girl's like, yeah, we can do that. Those 2 get up and leave, leaving me with the 2 other freshman girls. One of them doesn't say a word at all. She won't even look at me. And that leaves the last one who, luckily for me, actually was looking at me. And she goes, well, I haven't really camped much, but I think this could be fun. And she goes, yeah, I'm not much of a camper. And I say, well, me either. And then it's silent again. Nobody else says anything else to try to make the conversation move. And at this point, I don't know what else to say. Because, like, I've come over and said hi. I asked how their rides were. I asked how they feel about camping. What else is there to talk about? I mean, I guess I could have asked where they were from or like what their seasons were like in high school or what made them want to run at Shawnee. I don't know. But I didn't think of any of that. All of a sudden, they exchanged something that I couldn't hear. And they got up and started walking in the direction of where the other girls went, leaving me alone at the table. So within 2 minutes of me walking over and sitting down with these girls whose names I don't even really know yet, okay, because I've only heard them once, they all get up and leave. And I just remember sitting there thinking, how is this happening already? Because I know exactly what happened. They've already decided that I'm odd for some reason and that they don't want anything to do with me. So I'm sitting there like, maybe I'm reading into this and they all just had a place to go. I'll just follow them. Maybe, you know, I need to know where the showers are too. I'll just follow them. So I get up and I follow them. And when I get up behind them, nobody really says anything to me. They're all just kind of talking about whatever they were talking about. I really don't know. We end up finding the showers and I'm like, okay, cool, know where those are. And these girls are talking amongst themselves and they just end up wandering back to a random picnic table and sitting down. So again, I sit down with them because I'm a freshman too and they're freshmen. So that's probably who I should hang around, right? And get to know. And again, no one says anything. They're all just kind of looking at their phones or talking to each other, but not to me. So I'm thinking, all right, how about I talk to that one friendly girl, the one that actually looked me in the eyes and gave me some eye contact instead of looking at her phone. And we're gonna call this girl, what name could I give her? You know what? How about we call her Debbie? Because that reminds me of Shameless. Let's call her Debbie. And I start making small talk with Debbie. Can't remember what I said, but it worked because we start conversing and I'm like, oh, cool. I'm talking to one of these other freshmen. Maybe I have one friend today. Thank God. The rest of the camping trip kind of just went like that. Whenever I would go up to the freshman girls, that one would be really nice, but the others wouldn't really talk to me. They would look at their phones or move away or talk amongst each other. And I didn't understand like why those 4 were just hitting it off and they didn't want anything to do with me. Except for Debbie. I ended up staying on the upperclassmen side of the camping tent that we were in because they were the only ones that were kind of talking to me. So I laid my sleeping bag out next to them. The only important thing that happened at this second campground that you need to be aware of is that I started talking to this guy and we'll call him PJ, which is really close to his like shortened version of his name that he uses. And I like that. PJ was really nice to me. PJ was really funny, and I thought he was really handsome, and he was a junior on the guys team. Fast forward, college starts, all right? College starts, my crazy roommates move in. That's a story for another time on what my dorm experience was like. Now, I believe our first race was this 5K that Shawnee State holds called the Bear Run. That was gonna be my first time putting up a time for a coach, and I believe I ran 20-something. Like, okay, it was the start of the season. Actually, technically, it was a pre-race before the start of the season, so I'm not surprised that I was in the 20s. Like, I ran in the 19s and 20s in high school. I'm starting in the 20s. Okay, that makes sense. If the goal is to get me to the 18s, starting in the 20s, which is only a minute and a second off, is not that bad. Coach Derek disagreed. You know, we kind of disagreed on everything. If I think away, just know that Derek thinks the opposite. I learned really quickly that if I thought everything was okay and I was doing okay, that I probably wasn't. My coach called me after the bear run. He called me because he didn't like my performance. I was in my dorm unpacking the rest of my stuff, getting ready for classes that were starting, when my phone rings. I literally remember the moment it rang because my roommate had just moved in and her family was in the hallway unpacking the rest of her stuff. We'll call this roommate Chloe. I actually ended up getting into a physical fight with Chloe at the end of the semester. That's a story for another time. Me and Chloe did not like each other. We did not hit it off, but Chloe had been moving in all of her boxes of stuff and her parents were in the hallway when my phone started ringing and it was Coach Derek's name on the screen. I pick up the phone and answer it thinking, oh, you know, maybe practice was moved to a different time today. Or he has some feedback for me from the race. Well, I was right. It just wasn't good feedback. He asked me if I have a second and I say I do because I'm in my dorm. And he goes, good, because I have something really important to talk with you about. I sit down on my bed because he sounds pretty serious and I'm like, yeah, you know, what's up? And that's when he goes, you know, when I chose you out of everyone to give $5,000 per year to run for me, I really thought that you would be putting up better times. I'm a bit shocked. I say to him, what do you mean? Oh, wait, hold on. I'm supposed to be on the phone. What do you mean? And that's when he says on the other line, you only ran a 20. I thought you would at least be in the 18s. And I say, well, coach, it's August. It's the start of the season. Why would I be in the 18s at the start of the season? And that's when he goes, we've been training 40 to 60 miles a week all summer. From your performance today, it looks like you haven't ran a step. And again, I'm kind of shocked because from what all of the girls have told me, they did not do great their freshman year. In fact, their freshman cross-country seasons were terrible. You know why? Because when you go from running 3 to 4 miles a day to running 10 to 12, it takes a bit out of your body. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to come to that conclusion. But apparently my coach doesn't have the common sense. You just didn't put up the time I thought you would put up. For all of the hours that we put in training this summer, you just didn't put up the time that I thought you would. Well, you know, I obviously would have liked to be in the 18s at the start of the season. That would be great, but my body's just getting adjusted to the new bit of mileage. Like, I'm not used to it. I literally used to run a half hour a day, and now we're running an hour and a half a day. I'm just not used to it, coach. And I thought he was going to be understanding, but he just wasn't. When he says what he says next, it put actual fear in me, and I think it was supposed to. Look, we have our first race next week, and I better see you run faster than what you ran today, or I might have to rethink your scholarship next year. Really? Yeah, if I'm paying you $5,000 a semester, I want you to run faster than just the 20. I can find plenty of other girls to pay $5,000 a semester that can do better than what you just did. I'm thinking in my head at this moment, like, well, then why didn't you go sign one of them? This immense amount of pressure immediately was pushed upon me, okay? I didn't really think that my first year would be taken that seriously. It is my first time running that amount of mileage, running 6Ks instead of 5Ks. And from what the other girls had told me, he had been understanding for them. So what was different with me? What was so different with me? Why was I not being allowed to have a bad race? And again, we hadn't even started the season, guys. This was just a 5K that my college hosts that we just participated in called the Bear Run. It raises money for the program. It's not even a real race. Why he was analyzing that performance as if it were a national race and I just blew my chances at a title, I don't know. I didn't even respond to him for a second because I was starting to cry. He didn't know I was crying, but there were tears they just were coming, okay? I was thinking, oh my God, like I haven't even started the season yet and he's gonna take away my scholarship. I'm gonna lose all this money. My dad's gonna be so disappointed. Everybody back home is gonna think that I wasn't taking this seriously. It's gonna be so embarrassing. What am I gonna do? Coach interpreted my silence as me not caring about what he was saying. This is very serious. I want this program to do great this year. We're going for our 8th in a row win. I signed you because I thought that you could be one of the top 7 to help us. Are you even listening? Yeah, I'm here. That's a lot of money that I'm giving you to run for my team, so I want you to take this seriously and I want you to put up the points that I want you to put up or I'm gonna have to go with someone else next year. At this moment, I hear knocks on the door and it's my roommate Chloe and she says, hey, we're about to go out to eat. Would you like to come with us? My parents will pay for you. I didn't even respond to her because A, coach was still on the line intimidating me, and B, if I did, she would hear the tears in my voice. Like, there's no way I could hide it from her. Like if I opened the door and I looked at another human right now and they saw the tears on my face, more would have exploded, okay? It would have been horrible. So I just didn't say anything. And I remember Chloe knocked a couple more times and they ended up just walking away, and Chloe said, maybe she fell asleep or something. And I'm thinking, yeah, I wish I fell asleep. I wish that's what happened. But no, instead I'm on the line, and my coach, who I barely know, after I've had just a horrible week of trying to fit in with my new teammates, my coach that I barely know is telling me that he's disappointed, and he's not happy, and he's rethinking my scholarship, and we haven't even started the season. So I didn't say anything to Chloe. She walks away with her family. They go out to eat. I would have went out to eat with them. I think they went to Buffalo Wild Wings. I love me some boneless wings from Buffalo Wild Wings. I like that Asian zing. I would have went, but I couldn't go. So Chloe, if you do see this, I would have went. I wasn't asleep. I was just busy getting yelled at by my crazy coach. So at this point, coach has taken my silence as I don't care. That is the emotion that he would project onto me all the time, or rather the viewpoint that he would project onto me, that I don't care, that I'm not taking this seriously, that I'm a waste of time. That's how he would decide that my thinking was. I never once ever said that. Maybe he's tricked himself into thinking that my actions say that, but no, I was there because I do care. This is saving money for my family, for me to go to school. Obviously I care. Literally running my body into the ground for you, sir. 6 to 10 miles every freaking day. Okay, I care. So I say, of course I care. I wouldn't be on the phone with you right now if I didn't care. And he says, well, good. I need you to start showing me that you care, because I'm not impressed with what I'm seeing right now. And that's when I say, trying to get him to understand where I'm coming from, well, the other girls told me that they struggled a lot their first season too. And not to be sad if I don't put up a PR this year, because it's going to take a while for my body to catch up. And that's when my coach goes, well, actually, so-and-so put up a really good time at the bear run last year. Okay, well, I'm not so-and-so. My body's taking the training differently. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to run that. I just need some time. Oh, I'll give you some time and I'll be watching really closely. Show me that you're worthy of this scholarship. Oh, I will, coach. Don't worry. I'll show you. And we hang up. And I start bawling, okay? If you walked in, you would think that my cat died or something. It was in that moment that I realized that while I was at a new school, on a new team, away from my crazy mom and her unachievable standards, who would take away all of my electronics and wouldn't allow me to hang with friends anytime I didn't perform to her standards, that it didn't matter that I got away from my other high school coach who set aside my mental health because he cared more about us going to state or performing well at MSLs than he did me. It didn't matter that I got away from all that because I had stumbled into a program that in a lot of ways was worse than what I had left. I had signed on to Derek's team, and Derek only cares about you if you're performing for him, if you're putting up the times that he wants in the places that he wants, and you're giving his program positive attention. He's just like Linda. So I cried. I realized I was bamboozled. He's actually a washed-up runner living vicariously through his college students. Yay! So going into this one and only season, guys, I had 2 goals now, all right? 2 big things on my little plate. A, get the team to like you. Yeah? Get the team to like me, make friends. And B, keep my coach happy. Keep that crazy Fruit Loop chirping. It wasn't being a good roommate. It wasn't being a good college student. It wasn't being a good daughter. It was about kissing my coach's ass. The next few weeks of training before our first meet are a bit of a blur. He doesn't really say much to me at this point because there's no times that he's been disappointed by, okay? All he's seeing is that I'm showing up and I'm running, and when he checks my little Garmin watch, it says the right mileage that it's supposed to say. As far as coach goes at that point, we're doing great. The team? Turns out we didn't get closer as time went on. We just grew further apart. The only girl that gave me any time of day was Debbie. I was actually letting Debbie stay in my dorm a lot because her home life was crazy, and I was letting her use my meal card and swiping her in for meals because, again, her home life was pretty insane and she needed food and they didn't have it there, so I would swipe for her because that's what you do for your friends. And at this point I'm thinking, you know, the other girls may not like me, but Debbie is so nice. I'm really glad that Debbie's here. I can't believe I have my first girlfriend. My entire time in school, I would always make friends with other girls and they would move away or they would be put in a different class and I wouldn't see them anymore. So this was my first time where I had a consistent friend and she was on my team and she would come stay at my dorm and it was awesome. I think I was the happiest I had been for like a month there. That guy, PJ, he was talking to me more and more. It got to the point where people were coming up and telling me that PJ just told them that he'd never met anyone like me before and that we had a great connection and that he was going to ask me out. So I'm hanging with my friend Debbie. I'm waiting for PJ to ask me out. My running's going good. Like, I'm feeling good. And I'm thinking, you know what? I can't wait for these races to come up. I'm going to show Derek. I'm going to show Coach Derek that he made the right choice. I won't even have to worry about this whole scholarship thing. It won't come up again because he's going to see that he made the right choice when he signed me. That all changes when Debbie starts putting thoughts in my head. I don't know what it was with Debbie. I think she had an insecurity, and what helped with that insecurity was by making others feel insecure. We were sitting in my dorm, and it was me and another guy friend, and it was Debbie. And that's when Debbie goes, "Oh, Jess, you wouldn't believe what so-and-so said to me in the athletic room." And I go, "What did so-and-so say?" "Oh, I can't tell you. It would probably hurt your feelings." No, I'm pretty chill. Like, it takes a lot to hurt my feelings. Like, what did she say? Like, what's the tea? No, I just don't know if I should. And I'm just thinking, if you don't know if you can tell me this, why would you bring it up? Like, obviously she brought it up because she wanted me to ask, right? To be curious and ask questions. No, seriously, what is it? Like, you can tell me. Like, you brought it up, so you must want to tell me. And that's when she goes, "Fine, but you can't be upset if it hurts your feelings." And I'm like, "No, girl, just tell me. Like, I'm not going to be mad. Like, what is it? What did she say?" "Well, she said that I'm the prettiest girl out of all the freshmen." "Oh, okay." And it's like silent for a bit, and I'm like, am I supposed to say something else? So I go, "Well, I think you're really pretty too." And she goes, "Thank you. You're welcome." That was kind of weird. Just kind of weird. It kind of seemed like she went out of her way to let me know that one of the girls who is one of the ones that doesn't like me thinks that she's the prettiest out of all the freshmen. Thank you, Debbie. Now, as me and PJ are getting closer, Debbie would hang out with us a lot. We would go in the car and run and get food together, or go to Walmart and grab stuff, or hang out after classes, or go up in my dorm and hang out. And there were times where Debbie was alone with PJ. When I went up to grab something from my dorm, I left them alone in my car. PJ was in the backseat and Debbie was in the passengers, and I just went up to grab something, and I come back down. He's got like his arm around her and she's crying. And I get in the car and I'm not thinking anything inappropriate at all. It didn't cross my mind at all that maybe something happened between them, because I just see her crying and I'm thinking, oh, he's comforting her, because that's what a friend does. He's in the talking stage with me, he's just comforting her. And when she shares with me what she supposedly shared with PJ, I'm like, what the hell? Because it was something really messed up that another guy on PJ's team did to her. So I'm like, oh, what? And it didn't cross my mind that it's kind of odd that she would tell the guy that I'm talking to that information instead of her best friend. You know, that thought didn't cross my mind, but it does now. Why would she tell the guy I'm about to date, who's supposedly going to ask me out, something awful that happened to her about it was an essay? How are you going to share that with him and not your best buddy, who you say is your best buddy, who you've been staying at their place every day, that you do pretty much everything together lately? Like, we were like this, all right? Why did she tell him before she told me? Just kind of weird. And they were in my car. Like, she was hanging out with me. Maybe when I went upstairs and he was the only one in there, he was the first one she was alone with. Maybe she finally felt comfortable in that moment to just tell somebody. And we were all pretty close at that point. So I'm thinking, you know what? He's like our best friend too. Like, this isn't weird. I actually ended up having to leave PJ's place in the middle of the night because she was at a party where that guy that did that was there and didn't have a ride home. So I drove under the influence to go rescue her from a house and take her back to my place so she could sleep there. I would never break a law like that and risk my life or someone else's unless it were for an important reason. And I had to go get my girl who was in a house with a predator, all right? So I get her and she gets home safely and all's great. Like, I'm basically just doing the damn thing, all right? I'm being a solid friend. I went and got you, Debbie. PJ had just got done puking his guts and rolled over and went to sleep. He didn't care about you at all. I went and got you. So now we're gonna put a temporary pin in the Debbie situation, because me and Debbie and PJ, we continue like that for a bit. There is a point where PJ and I fall out. He ends up pulling back from me, and Debbie has everything to do with that situation. I will get to that and go back to a PJ thing, because there's another thing that I forgot to tell you. During the first month of school, I ended up staying the night at PJ's place in the house that he was sharing with a few of his teammates. I stayed the night there and we shared a bed, but nothing happened, okay? I was an 18 asexual girl, all right? And I knew that about myself. But for some reason, the guys that also lived in the house got it in their minds that something did happen. Even though the one that makes this comment to me literally was in the room right next to PJ's, so if something happened, he would have heard it. So he knows nothing happened. After I spend the night at PJ's, if you see someone walking around in the background, it's just skunky. It's not like a ghost or a spirit. So if you see like a black abyss just kind of tooting along, it's not a spirit, it's my cat. Well, technically she's my roommate's cat, but I feed her more than he does, so she's kind of both. She's mine too. The next day after I stay the night there, we go to where we're meeting to do our long run for the day, and as I'm getting out of my car and tying my shoes and getting ready to start the long run at the place we're running at, PJ's roommate jogs by, and under his breath, you know what he whispers to me? You know what he fucking says to an 18-year-old? Whore. Yeah, he fucking whispered whore to me as he jogged by. Why? Just because I stayed the night in his roommate's room. And so what if we did do something while I was there? As far as I'm concerned, you all knew that we were talking. That would be the guy that I would do it with then. How does that make me the W word? It doesn't make any sense. And then the fact that I'm a virgin when he called me that, That is something that's happened to me many times. When I deny a guy, they'll call me that word, they'll call me a thought, which means that hoe over there, for saying no. That's a projection, if I've ever heard one. And also, the guy that said this, you're a fucking idiot. And his name was Matthew Cheeseman. If you acted like a decent human, you wouldn't end up in my story time. So that happens. That's just more icing on the cake of what I'm dealing with. Because it's not just coaches' expectations, and it's not just PJ and Debbie. The men's team doesn't like me, the women's team doesn't like me, and I don't know why. It's undiagnosed autism. I had undiagnosed autism. I didn't know at the time. It wasn't obvious to me that I just don't click like they were all clicking. Now we're gonna go back to the coach side of things, because we've had a few races and I'm still not in the 19s. I'm still in the 20s. Once a week I get a call from coach. I'm not happy with your progress. Like, you're still just not where I thought you'd be. So-and-so was way better than you at this time last year. Why aren't you where so-and-so is? I'm not so-and-so. My body's taking it differently. I'm doing everything you ask. I don't know why I'm not performing. I'm not running bad on purpose. It was just constant. Like, every week I knew I was gonna get a call from him. Usually it was Monday or Tuesday after the race. Like, it didn't matter if I thought I did good. He never thought that. Well, a race finally comes up, and it was a flat course, and I thought, if I'm gonna run good, if I'm gonna get in the 19s or the 18s and get this guy off my ass crack, it's gonna be this race where it's a flat course. I end up texting my coach from high school. We'll call him Coach Bob. I want everybody back home to know who I'm talking about, but I don't want strangers to know. Unless you're a Matthew Cheeseman who likes to call little girls awful names for no reason. Then I'll let everyone know who you are. I text my coach for advice, and I ask him, how can I get into the 19? Because my coach has been displeased with the times I've been putting up, so I need to get in the 19s just to prove to myself that I can actually still do this. He gave me some advice, breathing techniques, things I can think in my head while I'm jogging to help keep my tempo up. So I took his advice to heart. When I went into this race, the whole time I'm thinking 1, 2, 1, 2 in my head. Every time a foot hits the ground, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, left, right, left, right. Basically what that does is if I'm thinking 1, 2, 1, 2 in my head, my feet are gonna stay on that same tempo. It basically tricks your brain into ignoring all the pain you're feeling. So I do that the entire race. 1, 2, 1, 2. I crossed the line. I ran a 19:35. That is the fastest I ever ran for Coach Derek. It was that day. I ran a 19:35. I crossed the line and I see the time and I have the biggest smile on my face. And I look around and nobody's there. I was the top runner in high school for a lot of my career. When I crossed the line first of my teammates, I always stopped, turned around, and waited. I would wait for the next girl to come in, then the next girl, then the next girl. And I would give my teammates waters, and I would untie their shoes and pull their chip from their shoes for them, because when you first finish, it's kind of hard to do that. And the chip collectors are real grabby, and they want their chips, so I would do that for them. Basically be a teammate. I looked around, and it was like a ghost town. Other teams were welcoming their girls in, but not Shawnee. Our girls don't give a fuck about each other. And I never understood that. And I knew there were like 5 or 6 upperclassmen that finished ahead of me. I got 7. And because I got in the top 7, I got to go to New York City that following week. Which sounds like, wow, holy crap, you got to go to New York City for free and run a 5K? Well, it wasn't for free. And that's another story for another time. Coach literally sent us to New York City to run a race there when we didn't even have it in the budget for us to all have 3 solid meals a day. Coach paid for 1 meal that entire 3-day trip to New York City. And we were expected to pay for the rest, and no one told us that. I starved the whole time and ran terrible. You're not going to believe the phone call he gave me. We'll get there. This particular race, though, I ran good. And even though none of the other girls that finished before me were wanting to be sportsmanlike, I decided to be. So I wait there at the end for everyone else to come in, and I tell them, good job. And I get them water. And none of these girls like me. None of these girls said good job to me. None of these girls asked if I wanted a water. None of them did any of that, but I did it. That's where I came from. That's what we did at my alma mater. That's what I'm doing here. And usually at my alma mater, my coach is somewhere nearby at the end of the race to congratulate you, to give us our cool downs and what we should do for the rest of the day. Coach Derek was nowhere to be found. It took me like 10 or 15 minutes of looking for him to find him. And when I did find him, he was surrounded by all of his favorite upperclassmen. Coach loved his upperclassmen. We had a 5th-year senior who got a uniform before one of the sophomores even had a uniform. This sophomore, who's actively actually on the team, running for Shawnee, never got a cross-country team jacket. But the 5th-year senior, she would travel with Shawnee and compete in the races we were competing in, but would just run unlisted. She had a jacket. She took the sophomore's jacket. That's crazy to me. But that's the kind of guy Coach was. Like, he didn't care who was currently on his team. He only cared about who was making him look good. And this girl that would run unlisted but follow us around, like, she had been his protege for like the 5 years that she did run there. So having her still around running the races we were in, it's almost like it didn't matter what his current team was doing because she would get first or in the top 3 and make us all look good. Every race we ran that was out of Ohio or a bigger race, this girl was always there. And he would always pay so much of of his attention and time to her. Like, he really did not care about the rest of us. If the team was just that girl, he would probably be happier. I think that's why he was so hard on me. I had the same times that that girl did when she first started. She put up really good times her freshman year, and he would say that to me. So-and-so put up this time at this time. She was slower than you her senior year. Why aren't you running faster than her? It's like I was constantly being compared, and it was so devastating to be compared to her because I wanted to perform like she was. I wanted that relationship. I saw how much he cared about her and how he didn't talk to her or speak to her the way he did me, and I wanted that. And I just never got it. I ended up going to New York City that next week and I didn't run well. As punishment, the following weekend, instead of going to the meet where all the other girls were going, Coach made me go to a meet by myself. The entire women's team went to a different state to compete, and I went to a random meet in Ohio by myself. I will put the picture here. I was the only girl on the starting line. And when I put that picture up, Coach actually had one of the seniors message me and say, hey, can you take that picture down? Coach doesn't feel like it makes him look that great. It kind of paints him in a bad light, like he purposely made you run alone. Because he did. No, I'm not taking my picture down. It's funny and cute and harmless. And if he's that bothered by it, if the shoe fits, Derek, if the shoe fits. Now we're gonna go back to the PJ Debbie thing again. I've been hanging with PJ a lot. I stay at PJ's place maybe 3 to 4 times a week. When out of nowhere, all of a sudden, he says, when we're in bed cuddling watching South Park, hey, we don't have to stop doing this right now, but after tonight, I kind of want you to stay over less. And I'm like, huh? Not that we're like moving too fast or anything. I don't know. I kind of just want to have some time on my own or something like that. Okay. And I immediately kind of let go of him and I'm like, oh, I can go home now. Like, I don't have to stay here now. And he's like, no, you can stay tonight. It's just after tonight, I kind of want to like have some space. And I go, oh, okay, maybe bro's got a lot of homework or something, needs to do some studying. You can have some time. So we keep cuddling. We watch South Park. We go to sleep. That was the last time I ever stayed there. When a guy says that to you, he's about to drop you, okay? He's gonna ghost you. And that's what happened to me. All of a sudden, all the fun things we would do during the week, like go study at the library or go get Taco Bell, he would say no to those or not ask me. But I would see him with Debbie a lot. Like, he would hang out with Debbie. He would continue to like flirt and joke around with Debbie in the ways that he used to do with me, with both of us, except he wouldn't do that with me anymore. He might come up and jokingly flick my arm or something or tap me and say hi. But it wasn't like as much attention as he would give Debbie. He just wasn't wanting to hang out with me anymore. And I was sitting in my musical theory class. Was it called musical theory? Something like that. Music appreciation. And man, did I not appreciate any of the music in there. It sucked. They played stuff from the Stone Age. That kind of stuff. It sucked. I remember sitting in there feeling like PJ's pulling back and I don't know why. He hasn't wanted to hang out much since he basically told me that he wanted space, and this feels like a lot of space. I want to hang out with him. I miss having the fun that we were all having. Debbie was actually at my dorm at this time. I was gonna let her stay the night there that night to get away from her crazy family. So I message PJ and I say, hey PJ, would you like to hang out? Sorry, I'm not crying. I just coughed like. I get the text sent to him, and it's something along the lines of, hey PJ, do you want to hang out tonight? I've been missing you. I don't tell him that Debbie's at my dorm at all. He starts typing back, and then he stops. And he starts typing, and then he stops. And I have great pattern recognition. I knew immediately he's gonna tell me no. He doesn't want to go, but he's thinking of an excuse, and I don't know what it's gonna be, but he's gonna tell me no. And he comes up with a good excuse, and it's, oh sorry, I can't tonight. I'm kind of swamped with stuff. Fair. I'm disappointed. So class ends, I go home. When I walk through the door, Debbie's on the phone, okay? And Debbie looks really frantic. My friend doesn't look like she was expecting me in my own dorm room. She was taken completely by surprise that I had walked in at the exact time that I said my class ended. Like, she forgot that was gonna happen. Whoever she was on the phone with, she immediately says to them, hey, I gotta go, Jess is here. Immediately, they hang up, and she's like, hey, Jess. And it kind of felt forced, but I'm an idiot. So I don't call it out. I'm just like, oh, hey, you doing all right? Who was that? And she's like, oh, that was just my dad. He's just being himself. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got you. And I don't think anything of it. I don't learn until months later that was PJ on the other end of the phone, that I walked in on PJ calling her after he said no, he didn't want to hang out with me. That phone call was him freaking out to her about how he doesn't want to go out with me anymore. He's not into me and he feels bad and he doesn't know how to tell me, and basically playing the victim. You lead me on for months and you feel victimized, right? It's woe is you. Okay, PJ, okay. At the same time, she gets off the phone with him and she knows that she was just on the phone with him. Right when I start telling her, Debbie, I'm just so sad. Like, I don't know what it is, but PJ went from hanging out with me so much to not at all, and he didn't want to hang out tonight. Like, he just said he was busy, but I'm just confused because it's Monday and so he shouldn't have any work for the week yet. We always usually hang out on Monday nights. And I can't remember what she said to me, but she was basically being a friend. She said, hey, how about we go to Walmart and like we get some snacks and stuff and we just hang out. And so that's what we all did. Like, I literally have a picture of me with a can of ice cream that we got that night. If I can find it, I'll put it here. And we were just messing about. And we went and had a good night, and she didn't tell me at all about that phone call. Which, personally, if I had a friend and a guy they were talking to called me and confided in me and told me that they basically had been leading them on for a while and didn't know how to stop or what to do, I would tell the friend. I don't care how long we've been all hanging out. You were here first. You're my girl, I'm telling you. It was a few days later that PJ finally stopped by my dorm and told me that, well, the reason he gave me for not being into me was he wasn't over his ex. He used that excuse. It was my first time as an 18-year-old hearing that excuse. So I'm like, oh, I get it. I'll still be here if you're ever over it. It's so embarrassing now that I know everything that was going on in that time, that he was doing at that time, and how he literally lied to my face. Like, it wasn't that he wasn't over his ex. There was someone he wasn't over, but it wasn't his ex. It was my best friend. PJ leaves. I remember trying to give him a hug to comfort him, and he pulled away and didn't even want me to touch him, and it was really awkward. Literally 3 days ago, we shared the same bed, and now today you won't let me hug you bye. It's like I had a disease. That'll all make sense later when you find out what was really going on in his stupid head, in his little pea brain. We're gonna fast forward a bit to me and Debbie's ending of our friendship. We're at a meet, okay? We are 7 hours out of state in Michigan. We are about to head to our hotel for the night. We're at a Panera Bread having dinner because holy crap, coach budgeted in our meals this trip, so we get to have a dinner. Yay, we get to have a dinner. We get the bare minimum this time, guys. There was literally a time I didn't get to eat breakfast before my race because coach was late getting down to the hotel lobby with our meal tickets, so I didn't have time to eat, and then he was mad that I didn't run good. We're in Panera Bread, and I'm with the freshman girls, and at this point, even though none of them reached out to me outside of practice or meets or anything other than Debbie, we were like acquaintances, we were friendly. I was working on the friends part. I thought I was getting close, but no, I really wasn't. One of the girls was talking about a guy that liked her. The two other freshman girls knew who he was, but I didn't, and we were just kind of playing a game. I would throw out a name of a boy on the team, and she would be like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. And like, we were laughing, and I was having fun with it. Oh, is it this guy? Oh, is it this guy? And she'd be like, no, it's not him. And we're just messing around. Well, that was apparently annoying Debbie because as we're doing this for a few minutes, out of nowhere, Debbie, my friend, goes, oh my gosh, Jess, stop it. She doesn't have to tell you if she doesn't want to. It's getting kind of annoying. And I immediately, like, the smile, the joy that I was feeling in this moment, this first moment where I felt like I was one of the freshman girls. We're all laughing apart from Debbie, which I didn't notice until her little outburst. We're all laughing and giggling and smiling, and I'm just like, oh my God, we're having a moment in this Panera Bread line. I'm included in the conversation. They're talking to me. That's when Debbie blurted that out. My face just falls, right? The big smile, beaming smile on my face falls. The two other girls go silent. I break the silence by saying, okay, if it's annoying, then I can stop, but that's a bit mean, and there's a nicer way to say that. And that's when she goes, yeah, well, it's annoying to just hear you keep guessing names, so she doesn't have to tell you. Like, you don't have to know. And I go, if you're not comfortable telling me, then why bring it up? I thought we were just messing around. Like, I was just trying to guess who the guy was. If she didn't want me to ask, like, why didn't she say to shut up herself, or not bring it up at all? Why are people bringing up things that they don't want you to ask about or don't want to tell you? If this girl doesn't want us to guess who the boy is or me to guess or doesn't want to talk about it, then why bring it up? If it's just for you three again and I'm excluded, why bring it up around me? Am I stupid? So it's kind of awkward. We get on the bus and Debbie was actually sitting with one of the other freshmen, not with me this trip, and I didn't know why, because usually we always sit together. When we went to get on the bus before earlier in the day to start the trip, she said, oh, I'm gonna sit with her this time. Kind of bummed out because that means I'll be sitting alone, especially after PJ. Like, when PJ quit talking to me, all the guys that were friendly with me, they quit talking to me too, and I didn't really know why. So I sat alone, but she was right across the aisle, and that ended up being an awkward thing. We get back to the hotel. Debbie hasn't said much of a word to me. The other two girls, they're like taking turns showering, and I'm sitting at my desk doing schoolwork, and I'm just feeling a lot of emotions, okay? Because at this point, no one had really been my friend except Debbie, so the fact that she was mad at me over what I felt was a stupid reason. One of the freshman girls literally said, yeah, that was really rude of Debbie. I can't believe she yelled at you like that. I wish they would have said something in the moment, because I think Debbie felt like she was totally validated talking to me that way. I don't know why people think that it's okay to talk to me that way, but not others. Like, I've always been talked more rudely to by my friends than they would talk to other friends. It's like I'm held at a weird standard. Like, if I do one thing wrong, it's fuck Jess, Jess is bad, but other people can make worse mistakes. I don't know. I remember sitting there feeling really sad for myself, so I go onto Twitter and I tweet, I really wish that I had friends that were there for me the way that I'm there for them. And I hit post, and I'm not even really thinking about it, but Debbie is, because she was on Twitter at that same time. Now, Debbie had a friend from back home. I'm not gonna give her a name because she's not important, but they're like this because they grew up together. And this girl would always come to bat for Debbie. Debbie would never stand up for herself when she was finally called out for her behavior. This girl would do it for her. I tweeted that, and then out of nowhere, Debbie's friend from childhood responds to my tweet and is like, why don't you just at her next time? And that's when Debbie comments, yeah, just at me next time. And I'm just like, how were they just sitting there refreshing for the past hour until I tweeted something about Debbie? I don't know. I wish I had friends that treated me the way that I treat them. That's all it was. So when they said at me next time, so I reposted my own tweet and this time tagged her in it. Okay. Here you go. Well, they didn't like that, so they blocked me. But the whole time this is happening, I'm literally at the desk. Taylor's literally 3 feet behind me on her phone doing the same thing. So we're having this fight online in the same room, and the 2 other girls don't know. We end up blocking each other. She basically isn't my friend anymore. Do you know that the 2 girls eventually were clued in that something was happening? Maybe they saw the stuff on Twitter, but it was really awkward, and I ended up having to get in the bed with Debbie because the other 2 girls were in the other bed. We were at a hotel. Like, we had to run that race the next day. I couldn't just go home. I literally had to share a bed with this girl that I just got in a fight with online that just yelled at me for no reason. This girl that was just my best friend that now isn't. All because I was jokingly asking this girl what guy she was talking about. I still don't know what I did. Like, it seems like a really silly reason to not be someone's friend just because they were being jokey with your other friends. Like, wouldn't you want me to finally fit in? Something that I didn't add that I'm going to add now because it will make sense now. Debbie told me a few weeks after we were camping out at the campgrounds at the start of the year that the only reason she became my friend was to make the other girls mad. I don't know if they thought there was something off with me or they thought I was weird. I don't know why they didn't like me. Debbie didn't specify, but she said that she would talk to me just because it would make them mad. Maybe by me finally getting along with them, that threatened her position. Maybe the whole thing is like she's using me as a tool to control them, and if I become friends with all of them, I'm not a tool anymore. I don't know, that's just my only guess there with that. That really hurt. It kind of makes me feel like Debbie never liked me at all, that she was only my friend because it made those 2 mad. I honestly think Debbie was a narcissist, but I know I call everyone that. But out of like all the people that have disappointed me in my life, which is a good 100, only like 5 of them I would call a narcissist. So that kind of is on track, right? Debbie's one of those 4 or 5. It's so awkward too. I have to like run a race and then be on the bus for 7 hours with her in the aisle seat right across from me. We had to stop at Chipotle after the race and I couldn't find a table to sit at because no one liked me. I obviously couldn't sit with the freshman girls because the moment Debbie didn't like me, the other 2 wouldn't talk to me anymore. Like they were her friends. It didn't matter that we were all freshmen. They were her friends. Just feel like they all knew I was autistic because there was a boy with autism on the boys team and they would all make fun of him and bully him and they would do the same to me. I wasn't very talkative that day at the meet because I had just lost my best friend and I had just been told by PJ that he wasn't into me. Not to mention that coach calls me once a week threatening to take my scholarship. You know, I ran a 20 something. I beat the other freshman girls. I was always the fastest freshman girl, and yet coach would call me and threaten me and not them. I hadn't ran a 19 or an 18 like I know he wanted me to, so I had that in my head. I just wasn't talkative, and because I wasn't talkative that day, when we were on the bus ride home, the guys were doing this thing where they were giving everybody nicknames in the Facebook group chat. Shawnee State Cross Country had a Facebook group messenger chat. Coach would text it to let us know what time to be at places or when practice was. They were making people funny nicknames, and it said that they changed my nickname in the chat, and I remember being like, oh, I wonder like what nickname they gave me. Like, I'm surprised they even included me because I thought no one liked me. So I'm like, oh, what did they change it to? And I go and I check it. Helga. They changed it to Helga because they think I'm some blonde mean bitch. I guess if you're shy and you listen to music when you're around others instead of talk, that you are either weird or a bitch. So they called me Helga after Hey Arnold. You want to know who called me Helga in the chat? The one that changed my name? Matthew Cheeseman. My only guess for why Matthew Cheeseman didn't like me is like maybe PJ was saying stuff the whole time, that he wasn't that into me but didn't know how to get rid of me kind of thing. Why else would your friend that you room with call me an insult after we hang out? Like, you must have told him that you're not that into it. So that trip ends. We ended up coming home late that night after that trip to Michigan, and Debbie had to get her stuff out of my car, so that was kind of awkward. She came up to me as I was getting in the driver's seat. Hey, my stuff's in your back seat. Oh yeah, because when we were still friends 2.5 days ago, I drove you here to get on the bus. That's right. So I unlocked my door and she grabbed him. We never talked again. She texted me once to ask questions on how to quit the team after I quit. Years later during 2020, I made a funny TikTok about COVID at the time to this viral song, and she got offended by it and went, of course you would post something like this. It was a joke about quarantine, and she got really offended by it. This was in March, all right? This is before anybody started dying. I made that joke that same week that everybody was sent home from high school and told, you'll be back in a couple weeks. no worries, and then they never went back. That's the week that I made that joke, okay? It wasn't like months later after tons of people had died. It was my way of coping. I posted that TikTok, okay? Debbie commented and then blocked me on everything. I haven't heard from her since. So I think she thought that I was being insensitive towards the pandemic, but like I wasn't. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up the whole Debbie thing. So after I run bad at New York, and after Coach makes me go to a meet alone, and after I keep just running 20s after 20s and just not impressing him, Coach throws another thing on my plate. Hey Jess, it's that same Monday where I call and harass you every week. I'm not proud of your grade in music appreciation. And that's when I go, oh, well, it's not like I'm failing, you know, I have a C in there. I'm working on getting it up, but it's just a C. And that's when he says, well, most of the girls on the team have A's and B's. And if you don't have A's and B's too, it's gonna bring our percentage down. So now he's not pleased with my grade in this one class, and he's not pleased with my performance. And he's, again, threatening to take away my scholarship, which, like, I get it. Like, having A's and B's, that's great. But again, I have undiagnosed autism and ADHD, and I struggle with school. Like, I struggle with numbers and memory, and music appreciation was hard for me because it was the most boring class ever. 2 hours of just sitting there listening to music that all sounds the same, that I'm not interested in, that you could fall asleep to. He's basically telling me that if I don't fix my grades, that could be another way that he takes away my scholarship. So I go to this class and I tell her, hey, there's a few assignments that I missed. Would I be able to make those up? And she basically says, no, unless there's a good excuse for you missing them. Me being like, well, there wasn't a good excuse. I just didn't do them because I have so much other stuff going on that how can I focus on school? I was doing enough to get a C. I decided to tell her, well, actually, I had picture day for cross country on one of those assignments when it was due, and that's why I wasn't here that night for class, because our pictures went late that night. So I couldn't come to class that night, and that's why I didn't turn in that thing I missed, because I would totally skip that class from time to time. And one of the times I skipped, I forgot we had to turn in an assignment that was worth like 20 points, and that 20 points could get me from a C to a C plus or a B minus, which is what my coach wanted. So I lied. Coach was pressuring me that if I didn't do something about this grade, that he was going to kick me off the team. And this teacher was kind of a hard ass and not very forgiving. The only out she was going to give me is if I had a good excuse. So I made up one. Because that's what you do in college. You make up excuses as to why you missed an assignment so you can redo it and turn it in. Everyone does that. I am not alone. Well, coach didn't trust me to take care of it. Evidently, I get a call the next day and I'm getting interrogated. You know why? Because apparently he talked to the lady that night too. And I get made to feel like Dookie because of him. He decided that he didn't trust me to take care of my grade myself, so he took it upon himself to call the teacher. At my big old age of 18, called my own college professor behind my back. My coach in high school didn't even do that. Well, those two talk to each other and they find out that I lied, that I fanoodled both of them. After I lied to her, I went and redid that assignment and I turned it in, and I went and told him that I took care of it and that the grade should go up. He found out that I lied about the picture day. So he calls me, why is Mrs. Whatever saying that you missed class that night because of me? And I just go, I don't know what you're talking about. Because I came from a white trash family, and I learned in that white trash family that we don't admit when we're wrong. We lie, deny, deny, deny. So that's what I did. I lied and I denied it. Well, I just got off the phone with her and she said that you told her that you missed class because of pictures with me. Well, pictures with me were a month ago, and they weren't at 6 o'clock, Jess. They were at 3. So why were you lying to her? I have no respect for this guy, and I haven't since he made me cry in August. All right, this is November now. So I just tell him, I don't know what you're talking about, coach. I never said that, so she must be making it up for some reason. Why would your professor lie to me? I don't know, ask her that. I would have way much more respect for you if you would just admit to me right now what you did. I don't have anything to admit. I turned the assignment in, the grades up. I don't know what you want. I'm really disappointed in you, Jess. I really thought way much higher of you than this. And I'm just thinking in my head like, oh, did you now? Because all you've been telling me once a week since I moved up here is that I'm not doing good and that all the sophomores from last year were performing better than me. Okay, so you don't respect me. I don't really care. Well, that really shows a lot about your character, that you don't care if someone respects you. I didn't say this to him, but it's not that I don't care about that. I do care about those things. It's just I have to respect the person first to care if they don't respect me. I don't give a fuck about you, sir, because you're a bully like my mom. You made me have to lie because you put me in that position. Something that he said during one of these many phone calls, you know, I've seen this before. I had a girl a few years back that said to me that she wants to run, but then her performance would say otherwise. The way that you've been, you remind me a lot like her. That was the only thing about me that he pegged right. I didn't want to do it. But it's not that I thought that I did and then just really didn't. I knew I didn't want to do it. All of those times I went to state, and I went to state 6 times in high school. Every single time, I never wanted to be there. The only reason I was a runner is because my mom realized I was good and she made me do it. And damn it, by the time I was 18 years old and I'd been doing it for that long, being a people pleaser for that long, I didn't know how to tell my dad, no, I can't accept this $5,000 every year because I'm lazy and I don't want to run anymore. I couldn't do that, so I thought I would try. I had something to run for before that wasn't for myself. I've never once ran for myself. That's why Coach Derek knew something was off with me and would call me. He could tell that I didn't want it. And the reason I didn't want it, it's never once came from me because I wanted to do it. I ran because I wanted to put up points for my team. Because all those other kids, they do care. They do live for it. I wanted to put those points up there for them. I wanted to do it for my coach because I felt sad that he never got to go to the Olympics. I've never wanted to run in college. And I think he knew that. And I was trying to find that. I thought, can't find this in myself for college. I can't run for myself because I don't want to be here. But I could run for Coach Derek or I could run for these girls. But damn it, neither of them liked me. I tried to fit in with the girls. They didn't want me a part of their team. The one time where I finished well, not one of them said, great job, Jess. Nice being top 7. What am I running for if my teammates don't care how I place? I left this part out, but that day where I did run the 19s, I did find Coach. He was surrounded by his favorite seniors, and I was able to weave my way through them. And I said, Coach, did you see my time? Yeah, I did. I got in the 19s today. Maybe this means you'll finally be in the 18s. And he walked away. He didn't care that I had finally got out of the 20s like he wanted. He just cared that it wasn't the 18s. I was 15 seconds off my high school best time PR ever. He didn't care. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of my mom. And when I ran a PR, but she didn't care because I didn't get first. Or when I did get first, but she didn't care because it wasn't a PR. Point is, nothing I ever was going to do was going to be enough, and nothing I ever could do was going to make those girls want me on their team. So I quit. I found out months later in February from one of my guy friends that the week after Debbie quit being my friend, she went on a date with PJ. And she actually freaked out to this friend and said, I don't want Jess to think that the reason I quit being their friend is because I was into PJ. Because I guess PJ asked her out literally that same week too. I don't know what's true. I don't know if PJ asked her out after she quit being my friend, but if I had to guess, he asked her out before. Debbie, who wanted to go out with him, who literally said to me before, I would never date a friend's guy that they were into. Even if it didn't work out, I wouldn't date a friend's guy. Found the first way to get me out of her life so she could be with PJ. Well, we're not friends anymore, so I can be with PJ because we're not friends. I never talked to any of the guys that she was into, and they were in my DMs. Adrian was in my DMs. I never messaged him because I wouldn't do that because you liked him, but Debbie would. And she did. Nothing more confusing than being told that this guy's telling everybody that you're his it and that his connection with you is so insanely different and deep than anybody else's, just for him to drop you like that and date your best friend. Oh, and she drops you too. But she doesn't want you to think it's because of him though. It was a completely different reason. PJ's the reason, Debbie. I did end up sending Derek a really rude paragraph like years after saying what a crappy coach he was and how manipulative he is and that he shouldn't work anywhere again. He works at a different college now. Hopefully he's not abusing them. And hopefully the team there is not divided and actually a team. But it's kind of hard for a team to be a team player when the coach picks his favorites. It makes it pretty obvious. How did I get so unlucky that I signed to Shawnee with Derek? If one girl on the team could have been my friend, I would have stayed. If PJ would have dated me, I would have stayed. If my coach believed in me, I would have stayed. I needed one thing to go right. Everything went wrong. Anyways, I'll see you at this time next week. Bye!